time. As I was saying before, though, the place that I previously worked at, Armature Studios, they just released their big project today, a virtual reality adaptation of the Capcom classic Resident Evil 4. And it sounds like a weird game to move to VR. You don't quite know how those weird Resident Evil controls would translate in a virtual reality space. That was definitely a sticking point with some of the review, or I guess a point of concern with some of the reviews I've read. But as it turns out, Armature knew what they were doing, and this game has been getting some rave reviews. So let's just watch one of them. I haven't seen this one yet. I've read a couple of reviews on different publications earlier, but and I only watched a little bit of a video of one. I wasn't working there when they started on this project, so I really don't know dick all about it. But it sounds like they knocked it out of the park. So kudos to them. Congratulations. If I had an Oculus, I would pick it up. I've been thinking about getting a VR headset. I wanted the one for PlayStation for the PS4 because I wanted to play that Star Trek game. And I guess, is that available on Steam, that VR Star Trek game? I think this is the one. This is the one I want to play. So, at some point, I'll probably end up picking up a VR headset. They were incredibly expensive way back in the day, but I mean, I can't imagine that they got any cheaper now. Who knows? Oculus, or if you have the HTC Vive, Justin and I have some experience with that one. That thing is awesome. I love the HTC Vive. That was also $800 at the time. And there was no way, and ironically, I was working at Armature at the time when we were messing around with the HTC Vive. I think his nephew or something got one, and I was working at an indie game studio. I just wasn't making any kind of money that could justify dropping $800 on a Vive. So I just went over to his house. We were working on a project on it for a little while. Mostly him and his nephew were doing it. And it was cool and it was awesome. I wanted one, but I mean, I just didn't want to drop the money on it. Now there's some cheaper alternatives that are out too. This says Oculus Rift, and I know Facebook has different versions of the Oculus out, but I don't know if they're compatible with these games or not. I think there's specialized games that are developed for those, but I don't know how much the Oculus Rift is compared to the HTC Vive. But whatever the case may be, at some point I do want to get a VR headset, and I want to get one that'll allow me to play this game. So we'll see what that turns into down the line. But should I end up with one, I'll probably check this one out too. So let's see what IGN has to say about it.
After 15 hours of outmaneuvering infected villagers in VR, I have a newfound appreciation for Resident Evil 4. While the original version was my gateway into the Resident Evil series nearly 16 years ago, the moment I booted up this remake on my Oculus Quest
16 years ago? Was it that long? Oh my god. I remember way back when this game came out, like, I think I got it on the Wii. I think I was working at GameStop at the time, and we could check games out. I think I may have checked out a version of this game on the Wii. When did this come out? I guess 2005. Holy smokes. I guess I checked out the Wii version. I brought it to my parents, because my parents loved the Wii, and they loved playing, like, the Wii Sports stuff. And I just as, like, a lark, just to show them what else was on the system, I brought this over. It may have been Thanksgiving, it may have been Christmas, I can't remember. It was one of those holidays. But I played it for them, and because I mean, they just couldn't grasp the controls. But they loved it. Like, they were enthralled by it. And for like several holidays after, they would ask me whenever I came over, they'd be like, "Where's that game at? Where's that zombie game at?" They'd want to hook up the machine to the main TV and play the zombie game. So I doubt they would enjoy a VR experience in that regard. Like, they never really cared to play it because the controls were just a little too complicated for them. But they liked watching me play it. Damn, I didn't realize that was like 16 years ago.
Armature Studios have created something special. Resident Evil 4 was already an excellent game, but experiencing it in VR recaptured that feeling of playing it for the very first time. Resident Evil 4 VR has been remade from the ground up to accommodate several VR playstyles. Full motion is for those experienced in VR gaming and comfortable with camera movement, while comfort mode is available if you're prone to motion sickness, and you can tweak movement options like teleportation at will. Resident Evil 4 was never a terribly scary game, but the sense of dread is enhanced in the VR version thanks to all the action being up in your face. So many of us have ventured through this gloomy yet beautiful world multiple times before, but Resident Evil 4 VR really does a good job at conveying the creepiness that setting has. Iconic parts like fighting Del Lago feel fresh and exciting in VR, now able to see this creature's giant mouth opening wide as it tries to eat you whole. And Salazar Castle struck me when I saw the armored knight statues and the rusted and run-down look of the armor. Reliving these moments up close is what makes this such an incredible experience. There's an added benefit from enabling full motion in that it allows you to control Leon while aiming and shooting at enemies independently instead of having to hold still while you're fighting like in the original. That said, I did not find myself moving that much while shooting, and only ever found it useful in boss battles. The bigger deal is that with full control of Leon's hands, all of your weapons and items can be physically grabbed when necessary. Your knife, for example, can be pulled from a holster on your chest. If you need a herb or first aid spray, you grab it from your left shoulder. It's a lot to remember when you're being attacked, so I was glad there was an option to map all of the items from the controller's right trigger by holding it down and then selecting the weapon by moving the left thumbstick. When playing with full motion, you also have the option to dual wield weapons, and that makes it a lot easier to get out of tight situations or just double your arsenal as you fend off hordes of Ganados. Aiming feels a lot more accurate than with the typical controller, and if you want to work on your aim, the shooting gallery is a good way to happily enjoy some low-stakes target practice. The changes to combat are a welcome addition to Resident Evil 4, making this playthrough stand apart from the many I've done in the past. But there is a severe learning curve to master. Reloading guns, especially when hordes of Ganados are coming after you, quickly activated my fight or flight and caused me to accidentally switch to my knife or improperly reload my weapon. Also, grenades require a lot of body movement. You have to pull the pin before throwing it, and that can be tricky, especially if you're playing sitting down. But, on the whole, the new combat mechanics are a good challenge for even the best of Resident Evil 4 players. Outside of combat, Resident Evil 4's puzzles are also a lot more fun to navigate and a lot easier to solve. In 2D, there are a lot of button prompts that control parts of puzzles that move, making it feel a bit tedious, but in VR you can physically interact with the objects to intuitively work through them. There are a few areas though where it's pretty much impossible to convert a 2D game to VR. Most cutscenes, for instance, are viewed in a windowed, virtual theater-esque screen in front of you, which is understandable, but still a bit of a letdown. Thankfully, the cutscenes Leon has on his communication device have been moved to VR, and you even have to physically press the button to start the call. Armature has put a lot of love into making Resident Evil 4 a fresh action horror experience. From the reworked and extremely flexible controls to making puzzles less of a chore and more fun to interact with, the thoughtful changes here make it an easy recommendation for anyone who owns an Oculus Quest 2. That's true whether you've played it multiple times across different hardware generations already, or if it's your first time, you'll be experiencing this modern classic. Given that it wasn't originally designed for VR in mind, it's truly remarkable how well Resident Evil 4 has been adapted. For more Resident Evil, check out our review of Resident Evil Village and our trailer breakdown of Welcome to Raccoon City with the film's director. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
A 9. That's the general vibe. The general vibe of this game is that it's a 9 out of 10. That like they really knocked it out of the park. And if you're a fan of Resident Evil 4, it sounds like, and you have a VR headset, sounds like this is like a must-own product for you. So yeah, kudos to them. They did a great job. They're really kind of owning the VR, well, maybe not owning, I don't know about as far as sales or whatnot, but when I was there, they started to really get into the VR space. They have their deal with Facebook for developing on the Oculus. They've been putting out titles that have been, pretty fun to play on it, and it looks like they're really getting their bearings with it. Adapting a game like Resident Evil to VR is no fucking easy feat, for certain. And the fact that they did it to such critical acclaim shows that, like, Armature Studio might be the preeminent VR game developer at this point. I don't know what other... I mean, I really don't know what other VR games are out there because I don't have the headset, so I don't really peruse the store for it, aside from all those boxing games. But, I mean, I haven't heard anything else come out to this level of acclaim. So, but then again, Resident Evil 4 is like a big franchise. It's a big title. And original VR games just aren't going to do that. So I mean, they have a leg up on in that regard. But I think that they're really using it to uh, allow them to stand ahead of a lot of other VR developers, even if those other VR developers are just as capable. None of them don't have the Resident Evil 4 VR brand to it, and one that's been consistently raking in 9 out of 10s from all these publications reviewing it. So that's a big win for them. We'll see what it translates into in the future. They have another game I want to play, one that I did work on to a limited capacity that I think was just released. Maybe I don't know when it was released. Where the Heart is, I need to figure out when that was dropped. And I know it's on the PS Store. I don't think it's a Steam one. I think they had a exclusivity deal. I think they had a exclusivity deal with Sony on that one. Yeah, so that's not on Steam. I'll have to pull my PlayStation 4 out of the dustbin. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you liked what I said, what Justin said, if you like the content we're providing, if you had any kind of laughs at all, even if you hate us, if you hate my guts, if you want to stab me, if you want to say all sorts of horrible things to me, cool. Like the video, subscribe. You'll get fed all sorts of shit you'll probably hate. And if you like us, you'll get fed all sorts of shit you probably like. So please and thank you.